So now that you've finished representing the idea of color, we're going to do the same thing we always do. We're going to make sure we save our work. We're going to lock that color layer. We're going to make a new layer, and you can put it on top or bottom. It doesn't really matter. We're using the layers for different artboards, so they're not really layering on top of each other. And we're going to call this one value. And we're going to go to the artboard for value. All right, so we're going to go to our artboard for value, and we're going to play around with the idea of an object's brightness and darkness. And one thing to think about is when you have an object's brightness or darkness, you can have them comparing to each other, right? So when you have a color selected, there's a really awesome tool called the color guide. And to get to that, you can go Window, Color Guide. And here you can have a base color. Like if this is our base color, and then you can create a palette off of that. You can complementary, analogous, shades, all sorts of things. Maybe shades might be good or monochromatic, right? So we can think of how can we compare one apple to another apple, maybe looking at the value differentiation between the different shades. So open up their color guide and see what changing the value of those colors, right? So we select an object, its foreground color gets set here, then we click to set the rest of them. You might want to use monochromatic, and then we see what happens when we change the value. How does that change the image? How can we still represent an apple, but use the concept of a value? The other tool that I want you to look at is when you have an object selected, and say I want this object to be the same color as this one, I can use this eyedropper tool and then select it. And you can actually do that for multiple things. So say I select all of these apple parts, and I use I to get the shortcut to get the eyedropper tool, and then now I can set all of them to be like that same color as that apple. So within the idea of value, I want you to represent value, but I want you to also play around with color guide and eyedropper tool.